Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be painting an abstract oil painting on this small 6x6 inch canvas. Now I've already primed it with a mix of a few colors. I used burnt sienna with a little bit of white and green yellow. You can pretty much take any normal typical thing of acrylic paints, and once you already have the base coat of primer, like the white part on there, you can put any other color on top of it that you'd like to sort of give it more of a better surface and a smoother surface to work with. Without further ado, I'm going to get started. So on my palette I have a few mixed up colors, pretty much just light orange and yellow colors with a little bit of magenta. But basically, I'm just going to start putting paint down on this thing and not really thinking about it, which is my main approach to abstract, because if you think about it too much, it can be frustrating. What I've learned to do, and what I'm teaching myself to do, is to just go with the flow, and my pieces always turn out interesting when I use this method. So when I start off an oil painting, I don't start off with really thick paint. I use really thinned out paint with turpentine or Gamsol, preferably Gamsol. But this makes it a lot easier to work in the thicker layers once you have the base coat down, or the first layers down. So for this lighter color, I'm using transparent yellow oxide with a little bit of titanium white and a hint of burnt sienna. So the way I think about these abstract pieces are like almost like you're chiseling out pieces of the painting. So when I'm blocking in this white or this lighter color, it acts as like the foundation for further chiseling, is what I would call it, where you basically just refine what you already have on the canvas. It's really all about refining, and even in realistic painting, you have your foundation down, and then you build it up as you work along with it. There's a process to it. And I think in my later videos in the future, I'll be doing more realistic stuff as well, not just abstract. But since this is my second video, I'm sort of getting the feel of things still. Now I'm going to start working in a little more green with this lighter color. I'm using cadmium green with white and a little bit of burnt sienna. Another way I like to look at my abstract pieces are like I'm creating a maze, and these are like all the little grooves and divots. And keep in mind, I'm using a relatively small brush, but I will go smaller as I get more detail. But right now I'm just sort of blocking in the bigger shapes in this painting. This is a really tiny one, so on a bigger one I would typically use, I don't know, like a size 12 or so. This is a size 2, and it's a bright brush. Alright. Now I'm going to start working in more of the darker tones. Okay. So I've already got some burnt sienna pre-mixed. And actually I'm going to add a little bit of transparent red oxide, which is very similar to burnt sienna. It's just slightly more red. It's a very nice color though. And I'm going to try to keep my brushwork relatively loose on these first stages of the painting to give it more expression. Because we can always go back and work on that later. Alright, here in a minute I'm going to use a smaller brush to get more of these details in, because I'm running out of room for my bigger stuff. Alright, I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to use a number 1 round brush. And I'm going to work in those lighter tones again. More refined this time. I'm also using a little bit thicker paint to make it more opaque and stand out better. when I get to the darker parts, I will talk more about color choices on how to make really dark darks. I don't know if I'll get that far in the video today, but I will discuss here in a minute one of the biggest issues I had when I first started oil painting. I've actually got quite a bit more white to put in, so I'll start talking about that now. So when I first started oil painting, when I was 14, I used a lot of black paint, and that would always make the colors very muddy. And what I found more recently, actually, when I went back into oil painting this year, is that use colors to make your darker colors, or use colors instead of black. And what I mean by that is use a mixture of either burnt umber with ultramarine blue or burnt umber with phthalo green, and that will give you a very dark color that resembles black, but it's not going to make your painting as muddy as if you use straight black paint. I'm going to start making a mix between this light and this background color to sort of make an in-between layer to add more transparency and a layered effect to this painting. One thing I really like to experiment with is thin layers of transparent paint and making nice transitions of colors. It adds a very nice touch to it, and it can be very fun as well. One thing I'm going to try to do on this piece is also to paint the edges, because I like to avoid that. And it's a little bit, what's the word for it? It's not as satisfying when you're looking at a finished piece and the edges aren't painted, in my opinion. At least for my work. I feel like the edges need to have something to them, especially if someone's going to hang it up on the wall without a frame. Plus, it's a good habit to get into, to give paintings a nicer touch. Looks like the piece is coming along pretty well. My favorite part about these is the spontaneousness of them. You never know how they're going to turn out. It's always something surprising and interesting. And even if they don't work out very well, you learn something every time. Especially when you're trying new concepts. Alright, and I'm going back to the darker tones. Gotta clean my brush out extra good this time, because it was a little bit dirty when I first started painting. Okay. Now I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna with titanium white, and we'll throw a little speck of quinacridone magenta in there as well. One thing I really have started to appreciate and enjoy in painting is a bold contrast between light and dark, especially in my abstract work. It just brings out a lot more depth and detail. It also makes it look like it's like got a good sense of layers. It looks like this white is behind whatever this darker shape is. It gives it that pop out effect. Now I'm having to use quite a bit of caution as I'm doing this because the lighter parts are still pretty wet because I use thicker paint on that area. And you want to try to not get it mixed in with your darks you're placing down, or it might and probably will blend in or create an effect that you don't desire. But if the worst happens, you can always paint over it. That's what I like to say. And I don't know if you all can tell, but this is sort of what I mean by the chiseling effect. Like, I've created these ridges and stuff, and now I'm further refining them. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. This is only my second video, but I have a lot more in store for you all. And I'm going to step up the video quality and get a mic and stuff like that as time goes on. Because right now I'm just recording on my phone with a tripod. But hey, it's a start. I'll also be posting the link to my Facebook and Instagram in the description, because I have hundreds of pieces of my work on my Instagram. And my Facebook, I don't have that many, but I have quite a bit. I'll be posting my website also, which I've had it for, I don't know, a year and a half now. It was very simple to set up, and I'm very pleased with how it looks. I used Wixsite, and if anybody is wanting to make a website for their art or anything else, I highly recommend it. It's free. Plus, it's really easy to use. come to a stopping point for this video. I'm gonna have to let it dry for a little bit before I can continue. But I really appreciate watching the video, and if you would like to see more, please comment and subscribe, and let me know what y'all want to see in the future. I'll see y'all later.